Two. Okay, this is 15 Minutes with Blake. I'm your host, Blake Linklater, and on the show with me today is Dre Baldwin. Dre's a former pro athlete, and he helps top performers perform at a higher level. So, welcome to the show, Dre. Why don't you give a quick background of like who you are, what you do, and tell me about your business.
Hey Blake, thanks for having me on. So yeah, what I do is, as you said, former pro athlete. I started extracting the tools, the mental tools to help athletes perform really well, and really was giving them to athletes at first online before it was cool to be putting content online. And those athletes appreciated it, and also people who were not athletes started hearing those messages and telling me, "Hey, this stuff applies to us too." So that's when I started to transition my message, or my audience rather, not the message, but the audience, from just athletes to athletes plus entrepreneurs and professionals. And I've been doing that for about the last 15 years, full time for the last 10. I stopped playing ball in 2015, and that's how we got here. So now we at our company, Work on Your Game, work with top 2% performers on mindset, strategy, systems, and accountability for implementation.
Cool. So yeah, you said a couple of things there to start out. Your top 2%, and
Right.
how do you define your top 2%? Like what?
Well, in the sports world, the only way you become pro athlete is you got to be in the top 2%. So
Okay.
I took that same approach from the sports world, and that's the parallel between the sports world and the business world. So in business, it's kind of hard to quantify because not everybody's playing by the same scoreboard, whereas in sports, it's clear. So that's where I got that from. That's to answer your question.
Okay, cool. So it's kind of, looking back, not to poke, not to boost my little. So I had a cup of coffee playing pro hockey. So that would probably and it literally was a cup of coffee. I mean, we were there for about a month and then got sent home. So that would probably put me then in the top 2% of all.
Technically, yes.
Technically.
Yes.
There we go.
That's right. I mean, for the duration of that cup of coffee, yes.
Yes, here we go. Yeah.
That's right.
And you played ball before. So was it football, baseball, or
what was it? My
said you
sport was
played
basketball.
Basketball. All
Yes.
right. Cool. All right. So let's, looking back over the last, 10, 15 years or over your life, what's been your biggest success?
Biggest success was probably just the fact that I was able to get into basketball because I went to a small college, a Division III school, which is the third tier of college sports. Don't really produce pros. I only played 1 year high school ball. So the fact that I was able to get my foot in the door to become a pro athlete was a big success for me. And as far as on the business side, outside of sports, there wasn't any one thing. I mean, in business, it's just been an accumulation of things of just building up a resume. So I can't even point to any one specific outcome. So if I had to give one answer, it would just be what I said, just making it in basketball and getting that shot, because that obviously I'm still talking about it to this day. So I think we'll go with that.
Awesome. And let's go on the other side now. What's been your biggest failure? However you want to define it.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Biggest failure. Wow. Biggest failures, again, that there wasn't any one thing. Luckily, I haven't had any businesses crash and fail on me. And as far as in sports goes, I mean, of course, you have games that you lose and times that things don't go right, but it's more of most of the time, it's more just the accumulation of just trying to figure things out. So I personally, in business, I can't point to any one thing, but I would say even today, I don't feel like I'm some huge business success. I've created some level of success, but I don't feel like I'm anywhere close to where I'm going to be, let's say 10 or 15 years from now. So I think right now, we'll just say right now is my biggest failure because I don't feel like I'm anywhere close to where I need to be or am going to be.
So let's touch in on that a bit because it leads up to the next questions to you. So, you said you want to get from where you are now to wherever you want to be 10 years ago. So where do you want to be? How do you envision your business 10 years, let's say 5-10 years from now?
Well, we want to take this whole concept, which is called work on your game, and we want to make this ubiquitous when it comes to personal and professional development. So, the way that you go make a copy in a copy machine, we call it a Xerox. Or when you used to take a photo with a camera, we called it a Polaroid. So we want work on your game to be that. And right now it's not that. I don't think most of your audience and you, before we connected, never heard of me before this. So that means I'm failing to do that job. So we're not anywhere near there yet, is what I mean.
Okay, cool. So let's, high level, what do you like? How do you help people? You help them, the high performers, and you help them perform at a higher level. But let's,
Yes.
A little bit of the Coles Notes version of, let's say I'm an athlete, maybe I'm a CEO or a high level executive. I'm looking for some help. I come across your game, like, what do you do? What do you help people with? Without going into too much of the detail of the program, but Cole's Notes version, what do you do to help them specifically, I guess?
Sure, 60-second version. So we have a 4-part framework. First piece is mindset. Mindset's the foundation of all success, is the foundation of all failure. So we always start and end with mindset, whether I'm talking to a basketball player, a librarian, or a CEO, or someone just starting a business. It's understanding the foundational principles of the way that you're thinking and the understandings that you have that will help you build your business. So that's the first piece. On top of that, we build the strategy. Strategy is simply a plan of action. What are we going to do? When are we going to do it? Who, what, where, why, and how we're going to do it. So it's having basically what we call it as a roadmap in reverse. How do we actually build up the plan of what's going to happen? Mindset piece, we call that the bulletproof mindset. The third piece is the system. System is simply a mechanism that allows us to execute on a strategy on a consistent basis so we can produce the same things the same way every time. Consistent results and predictable outcomes. And the fourth piece is the accountability. How do we make sure that the people are doing their job that they're supposed to, and that the process is doing its job? Because if the process is not producing the right result, we have to fix that as well. So those are our 4 pieces, and that's all based on actually performing at a high level and producing results, because of what we tell people around here is that we're in a results-based business. So everything is based on the outcome.
Cool. I think that's so awesome. Like, those are so, even in my business and with clients I've helped, and even, I'm looking at the 4 pieces there. Even when I got to like play college hockey and whatnot, or any successful business, first you got to fix the mindset, like you just said. Then what's the plan? What's the roadmap to get you there? What actions you got to take? And, good example, like I heard an interview with Steve Valiquette, who does a goalie, a former NHL goalie, does some analytic stuff, and it was on a podcast. And he said when he was 14 or 15, he wanted to get to the higher level. So his dad enrolled him in Gym Park goalie school for 8 weeks over the summer. So 8 weeks, 5 hours a day straight was part of his strategy and his system to work on the things to get there. And then the system, like the actions, and then accountability, which is someone holding you to be like, hey, you got to do this. And then accountability, I think the underwritten or understated accountability is accountability to yourself, to let, hey, you committed to something and to keep going at it and not to give up on yourself. And I think that goes understated in many people for accountability.
Yeah, and some people refer to that as mental toughness or persistence or stick-to-itiveness, all of those. And that is it's an under, what's the word? What you said, it's important, it's very useful, but it's in short supply, I think is what we can say. Not everybody has it.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think's been, what do you think is one key to your success?
Discipline. So the foundation of what we do here is mindset, and everything I told you there earlier, Blake, there are subtopics underneath it. So mindset, our 4 pillars are discipline, confidence, mental toughness, and personal initiative. So number 1 asset for me is discipline. Just being willing to show up every single day and making myself show up every single day and doing the job, even when the job was not giving me anything back. Even when it didn't look like it made any sense for me to be showing up, I kept showing up. And the fact that I never stopped showing up is one of the reasons that I've created some level of success to this point.
Perfect. Cool. Can you give me a case study of one of the clients that you helped from where he was to where he is now, and a couple things that you helped him with that he was really struggling with?
Absolutely. So, of course. So I'll tell you one is a he. Now, of course, being a coach working in the business space, of course, a lot of times people think that you're just helping people make money, but that's not always what people need. So, for example, I had a client who was in the financial space. This guy's earning over $500,000 a year. And he didn't come to me because he needed me to help him make more money, because that's not my area of expertise anyway. He said, Dre, no, I'm making the money. The problem is I'm doing so much work to make the money that my home life is not where it needs to be. I'm not spending as much time with my wife as I used to. I am losing my relationship with my kids because I'm not spending time with them, and they're growing up and eventually they're going to get older and go away. I've gained 40 pounds because I'm always working and I'm eating shit. Or I'm sorry for cursing. I'm not eating good stuff because of the fact that I'm always at work. Can you help me with the discipline piece of getting everything outside of work back in order? And that's what I helped him with. So it was figuring out, how do we strategize that you actually spend the kind of quality time with your significant other that you need to? How do you make sure that you put it on your calendar that you're spending some time with your son who's under the age of 10, and make sure that you're involved in his life the same way you were with your older children? How do we make sure that you can get your workouts in every day and you stop kicking the workout to later because you rather go to the office early or stay at the office late? How do you make sure that those workouts are actually happening so you can actually lose that weight and get back into the shape that you were in when you were in college or back when you got married? You can look like your wedding photos again. So everything I was helping this guy with had nothing to do with making money. It was about everything other than the money, because a lot of times we sacrifice ourselves to go do the business and we forget about everything else. So he's an example of someone who, again, he needed everything other than the thing that most people think about when they hear a business coach.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think? What was his biggest? Because I see that a lot with people. Either their health suffers or family life suffers.
Relationships, right?
Yeah. What was his big obstacle? Like, it's a mindset issue. What did he have to
Absolutely.
What was the big mindset obstacle for him? Like, to give up. Oh, I'm working so hard, and now to transition of no, I have to make family a priority or something.
The biggest mindset issue for him was his ambition to be professionally successful. Because of the ambition, it was okay. I usually work from 8 to 5, but I'll go to the office at 6 just to make sure that I can get all the work in. I'll stay at the office till 7 to make sure all the work gets done. And eventually you're squeezing that calendar. All right. The thing about a calendar is finite. All right. There's only 24 hours in a day. So there's only so much time you can keep taking from over here and give it to over there before there's nothing left over here. So his mindset issue was his ambition was actually his biggest problem, his professional ambition. So we had to figure out a way, how do we harness that ambition and you still get the job done? But at the same time, you can't give all this stuff, life stuff, up in order to get the career stuff, because then you're going to have all this career stuff and nobody to talk to. Your kids ain't talking to you. You don't have a wife anymore. What's the point? So that's what we had to do. And you're on the verge of a heart attack because you keep gaining weight. So all of these were issues.
So it's almost like you helped him overcome this fear of, if I lose my ambition, my business won't be as successful.
That's right.
But at the same time, he's got this fear starting to emerge of, if I don't do something, I'm going to lose my family and my kids.
That's right.
Perhaps, exactly. And you helped him overcome, or shift a belief in himself, or shift the mindset of, no, you can still have your ambition. You just have to restructure and crunch, like you just said, crunch it into a different time frame.
That's right. And figure out how can you still serve your professional ambitions while at the same time doesn't mean you got to put in 4 extra hours of work when you're already working a full-time job. We can't keep doing that. It just doesn't add up.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool. I'm excited to see his results and other people. I think that's that's awesome. So there's a lot of, we're coming up near the end. There's a lot of different coaches out there, a lot of different fields, just like in financial services, there's a lot of different advisors. Mm-hmm. What makes you different?
What makes me different is a great question. This is something that I ask my clients because I don't want to answer it myself. So I actually did interviews with people who are in my audience, my best clients and best customers, and asked them. And I even told them, I precluded the question by saying, but hey, I'm not the only person in the world who talks about this. I'm not the only person in the world who talks about mindset and strategy and, and is a coach and things like that. So what is it about my material that makes it different from all your other choices? Because I know, just like they know, I'm not the only option in the marketplace. Why choose me? And their answers from all of them is a very interesting one. So I'm glad you asked this question, because nothing they said had anything to do with the actual professional services that I offer. Their answers were all, Dre, I love the fact that you are honest, that you're direct, that you keep it real, that you're willing to talk about things that other people don't want to talk about. You're willing to speak on certain hot button topics, and you're no BS, you're no fluff, and you get straight to the point. And that was the answer that I heard over and over and over and over again. Nobody said, Dre, you're the best in the world on mindset. Nobody said you had the best strategies I've ever heard. Nobody said your systems are impeccable. Nobody said you're the best at accountability. It was all about these, I guess you can call them personal traits that I have that endeared my approach to what they were doing. The approach was kind of like a side piece, and the stuff that I do is like a side piece, but it's the way that I do it. That's really what got them to connect. So I'm glad you asked that question.
Awesome. I like that. That's pretty, I think that's, I think that speaks volumes to your character too, that everybody says it about your character, not about, like you said, the mindset or the systems. It's about you and your authenticness as you approach your coaching clients. So that's cool. All right. Last thing, what's one action step that my listeners can take today to help them move them closer to their goals? So if they said, hey, at the end of the show, what's one big takeaway, one action they can do to get them wherever they're trying to go?
Get some damn structure in your life. Most important thing, because whenever I tell people discipline is my most important thing, or people who've been following me for some time, let's say they follow me on social or something like that, they see the discipline, they see the consistency of my behaviors, and they look at it as if this is some innate talent. And the reason why anybody is disciplined is because they have structure. And when you follow a structure, you will naturally be disciplined. So get structure in your life. The simple way anybody can start with structure is to open up your calendar and actually put your activities on the calendar. A calendar is a form of a structure because it limits you to a finite amount of time. That's the amount of time you have in a day, number of days you have in a month. And you have to fit things into that day. And that's when reality starts to hit you. You realize that you can't do 50 things in a day. So you have to start actually planning things out and getting that structure in place. Then the next thing, the highest level thing you can do in terms of structure is stop trying to do everything by yourself. Go get someone who is really good at what they do and let them provide the structure for you. So this is like hiring a personal trainer. You don't have to try to lose weight by yourself. If you've been failing at it for the last 5 years, go hire a trainer. They will give you the structure. They'll tell you what to do, when to do it, why to do it, where to do it, how to do it. And they'll tell you what you can eat when you leave the gym. So just follow what they tell you. There's your structure right there. So get structure, whether you do it yourself. And if you are failing to do it yourself, you must be honest enough with yourself to say, I am not doing this myself well. Let me go get some help from outside of myself. And the great thing about the world we're in today, Blake, is that we're all interconnected. It's very easy to find someone who can help you in anything that you're not good at.
Yeah, so true. And, an old mentor of mine said more structure equals more freedom. So
That's
I
right.
definitely agree with that. And it's a bit paradoxical, but the more structure you create in your life, the more freedom you have to do the things you want to do. And I'm sure you've seen that with your clients and your coaching and whatnot, and get
100%.
the help. So
That's right.
again, pleasure having you. As always, how can people get a hold of you? How can, if they wanted some help, how can they reach you? Go ahead and let them know how people can get a hold of you and reach out to you and where they can find you.
Sure. So I'll give people, can I share my book that I give people a free copy of?
Yep, absolutely.
All right. So I'll give everybody a free copy of this book called The Third Day, The Decision That Separates the Pros from the Amateurs. This is all about discipline, but it's not a motivational book. This is not a hype up, rah-rah book. This is about putting the structure and the systems in place in your life so you can show up and give your best effort when you least feel like it. I give you a paperback copy of this for free, physically mailed to you. All you have to do is cover the shipping. Just go to thirddaybook.com. thirddaybook.com. The book's free, just cover the shipping. And as far as finding me, I'm on every social platform, probably most actively on Instagram. Instagram is just my name, at Dre Baldwin. And once you do those two things, you'll be in my world and you'll know about everything else that we're doing because we got a lot going on.
Perfect. Well, thanks again, Dre. And, as always, I'd love to hear what people think about this episode. Share it, give it a like, give it, hopefully 5 stars. Again, you can hit me up on all social media platforms, and you can reach out to Dre on all social media platforms.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any questions, people just reach out. Pleasure having you, Dre. And we'll talk to everybody next week.
Thank you, Blake. Thanks for sharing your platform.